Hey everyone, today's video is going to be my eyebrow routine. I've gotten so many questions from you guys about what products I use on my brows, how I do my brows, la-di-da-di-da. I'm going to be sharing with you how I keep up the maintenance of my brows and like style my brows. I pluck and wax my brows myself. I use this Veen one. It is the wax strip. This one is a sensitive formula and it is for face, bikini, and underarm. I strictly just use it for my eyebrows. It comes with these strips in it that I just simply cut up and form to the shape of my brow. I kind of hold it up to my brow, kind of find the shape, and then I trim it to fit that. It's kind of like retro fitting to my eyebrows. When I wax my brows, I make sure I have no makeup on, no face cream, nothing. I make sure the area is super clean, and then I simply cut the strip to fit my brow. And what I actually do to heat up the wax, you are supposed to rub it in between your hands, but I actually get a cup of tea and I put the wax on the outside of the cup, let it warm up a little, and then I find that that really helps the hair adhere to the wax and it just pulls out easier, so I'm waxing less and not ripping at my skin as much. I do this about like 3 or 4 times, just like strategically around my brow, placing it wherever and pulling off hair, you know, getting my unibrow, all that. When I'm done waxing my brows, I always make sure I use one of the perfecting wipes. It's just like oil pretty much on like a baby wipe. It just removes the rest of the wax, and then I go on to tweezing. The tweezers that I love to use are the Tweezerman tweezers. I've just had these tweezers for so long. They're just my go-to tweezers. And once I finish up tweezing, cleaning up the rest of the hairs that, you know, maybe there's a straggler somewhere around, my brows are done, and that's all I do to maintain my brows and wax my brows. It's super easy. Just make sure you're careful and make sure that you tug at your skin whenever you're waxing, just so you're not pulling at your skin, because it can wear your skin down, especially around the eye area, which is really sensitive. Now on to filling in the brows, which is probably what you guys are most curious about. There are 2 ways that I fill in my brows. There's this way, which is very sculpted, very like choo-choo, you know, like what is really trendy right now, and then it's more natural way, which I like both of them. When I'm like going out and like going all for it, I will fill it in this way, but when I'm just, you know, doing my makeup and I don't have time to spend like 10 minutes on this, I will just fill it in like this. So start with this brow right here. This sculpted glorious brow. What I use for this brow is the NYX brow gel. These are completely waterproof, long lasting. These like are not going anywhere if you put them on your face. I do mix the colors black and blonde together. There is colors between these, but I find that they're too red for me, so when I mix these together it creates a gray. Like it is a gray tone, and that's the color that I like to fill in my brows. I am very fair and I have very black hair, so you need a gray. You don't want a red tone. Well, for me anyway, I do not want anything in the red family. I want it to be more gray and neutral, and that's why I really like this color. This is pigmented eyebrow gel that fills, defines, shapes, and enhances. What I do with this is I put 50-50 amount on my Bath & Body Works candle jar, mix it around, and then I start sculpting out my brow. When I begin to fill in my brow, I always start from the innermost portion of my brow, and then I start sculpting it from underneath. This works for me. This method is easiest for me to really fine-tune my brows. I start from the inside and then work my way out, filling in the tail, and then working my way up to the top as well. Using this brow gel does take a little bit of time, and it takes a little bit to get used to. I mean, I'm kind of almost dry brushing it on to begin with. I'm not really going really heavy with the product, just very lightly. Once I've mapped out my brow, I start filling it in from the tail inwards, kind of like I'm going one way and then I'm going backwards the other way. I don't try to fine tune it right now. It's just kind of like a mucky mess, and then what I do is I take a spoolie, and the spoolie is the trick to my brows. What I use the spoolie for is really buffing in that product and really blending it into my skin, just so it doesn't look like something's sitting on my skin, but it's almost like my skin has been tinted or dyed. So I run that through it, really working it in there and really stretching that product and making it just buff into my skin. After that, I always like to go in with a little bit of concealer underneath. This just cleans it up and makes the lines a lot sharper. It just looks a lot more put together. And if there's any little mess ups from me buffing it out with a spoolie, this completely cleans it up. And then I also set my concealer with a powder. This is kind of like foundation and powder, right? So if you put a cream on, you gotta set it with a powder. Filling in my brows for me is really easy with this method. I have a very defined arch that goes very like up and down. I never over plucked my eyebrows when I was a child, but the golden rule for filling in your eyebrows is begin your eyebrow right here on the outside of your nose, carry it through your pupil, and that's where your arch is going to be, and then at the corner of your eye, and that's where the tail of your eyebrow should be. I finish off this brow with my Anastasia brow gel. It's my favorite brow gel. I go between that one, my NYX Control Freak, and my Tweezerman brow gel. That was what it took to do my first brow. That is a really long brow routine, and I don't expect everyone to do that, but I have another option here. This is using just my Brow Wiz from Anastasia. I love this Brow Wiz. I have fallen in love with it. I used it for a year, and it's the quickest and most efficient way and natural way for me to fill in my brows. I think that it looks super natural. It looks like a brow that you could, you know, go on a date with, and guys aren't going to be like, what happens if you wash your face? You know what I mean? All I do is kind of do the same method. I start underneath and then on top, and then I fill in for the tail and work my way inward. I do not like to put a lot of product on the inner part of my eyebrows here, just because it looks really heavy and dominant on my eye. I have like really big eyelids, so I don't like to do that. I used to do it. I've had many brows before. I'm not even going to start on that, but these two brows are my favorite brows so far. Anyway, going back to this, Brow Wiz everywhere, and then the spoolie. I love the spoolie on the Brow Wiz. It's my favorite part. It's so small and it can get all the way into the tail of your brow. I love it. I work that into my brow, kind of buffing it in the same way that I did on my other brow, and then I top this brow up with a little bit of brow gel after I cleaned it up with a little bit of concealer. And those are my brows. That's pretty much all I do for my brows. I can't really think of anything else that I want to share with you guys about my brows. I've had many brows, like I've said. These are my favorite brows at the moment. I just love them. If you've ever seen my brows on on my Instagram, I'm either wearing one of these brows. Sometimes I do go a little bit heavier with my Brow Wiz, but this is my more natural look. I can manipulate the Brow Wiz to kind of look like this, but for right now, I'm going to show you more natural and kind of this. I'll let you guys go. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you guys learned something. I hope your brows are going to be on fleek now. Yeah, I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.